The United States is running concentration camps on our southern border.
Say what?
Welcome to Roundtable Decision. I am your host, Wyatt Birkenoff. In today's video, I was going to talk about Iran. So I did a poll 2 days ago, what just ended yesterday, about the situation in Iran. For those who don't know about the situation in Iran, essentially the U.S. is claiming that Iran attacked a tanker ship with a bomb, and Iran is responsible. But Iran and several other nations have came out and said that this is outright false, and they claim it to be untrue, as you would expect the nations would do. But the thing what many people are skeptical about was the footage itself, as the footage was very blurry and couldn't really tell the situation. So I ran a poll asking my Twitter followers, and if they thought the U.S. thing, or the U.S. claiming that it's Iran's fault, is true, it being real, or is it not true, it being false. And it got 30 votes, with 63% saying that it's real and 37% saying that it's false. And I highly encourage you, if you look in the comments of the poll, to go to J.R. Edgar's Twitter page and follow him on his YouTube channel, as he recently did a long-form discussion about the situation itself. And also, I would highly encourage you to read Jake from Freedom Scoop's comments about the situation, as I think they are very insightful to decide what thinks that it is true rather than being false of a U.S. claim. And I thought I would share this video, if it'll load. I thought I would share this video to catch you up on the situation as what's happening now.
So crucially, a magnet that was allegedly left behind from whoever planted these limpet mines. Now, the information.
So essentially, they're claiming that with this magnet, as you're about to hear in the video, as I stopped it a little bit early to show the image, they're essentially saying that this magnet was used to have this bomb attached to it on the tanker to explode. Because the tankers are already made out of metal, and this magnet is obviously attracted to the metal, and so this is what was used. And this similar magnet and bomb were used in a similar attack a week ago. So they're claiming that this was too circumstantial to not be Iran who's being involved. But as you'll hear in the video, there are some skeptics to the situation.
Planted these limpet mines. Now, the information that we received this morning is meant to stack up the case against Iran. But at this point, all they would confirm is that these limpet mines bear a striking resemblance to those used by Iran. In other words, we don't have the smoking gun. They cannot say definitively that the limpet mines used in these attacks, these are prolific weapons and can be found in many places.
So exactly, you just heard it from the news anchor himself, that they're saying they can't directly claim that it's Iran's fault, but they're believing that it's too circumstantial. The evidence is too strong for there not to be a connection and not to be Iran who's involved. And so I thought I would read a little bit about the article itself on the situation a little bit further. And I'm going to start here. The Navy official said that it was hard to pry one of the magnets used to adhere a limpet mine of a ship's hull. The Ajeta, I know I pronounced that wrong, thank you, Delexia, anyway, said it could take a couple U.S. service members with a crowbar to pry just a single leftover magnet off of the Kakubo. The Navy officials said that 6 of the magnets, each about the size of a softball, would be used to hold a limpet mine in place on the vessel. Thus far, German and British officials, along with Iran arch-rival Saudi Arabia, have backed the U.S. in blaming Iran, or at least saying the evidence suggesting Iranian culpability is strong. But, of course, Iran is going to claim it to be false, as the article says. Iran has constantly and completely denied any role in the attacks on the tankers near the vital shipping channel of Strait of Hormuz. But the recent ones of the 2 ships in the Gulf of Oman and similar attacks on 4 tankers last month on the United Arab Emirates port. Accusations leveled against Iran's armed forces and a published film with regards to the incident that happened to the vessels are unsustained, and we categorically reject these accusations. Iran's semi-official IRNA news agency quoted Defense Minister General Amar Hatman, I think that's how you pronounce it, as saying, and don't know where the rest went. Interesting. The attack on the oil tankers came against the backdrop of the heightened tensions between the U.S. and Iran that take root in President Donald Trump's decision to withdraw from Tehran's nuclear deal with the world powers a year ago. So this article is putting blame on Trump removing themselves from the nuclear deal. And I'll read here for a little bit more information. Since Donald Trump pulled the U.S. out of the deal, Iran has threatened to stop adhering to the limits on its nuclear program. It recently quadrupled its production of low-enriched uranium and threatened to boost its enrichments closer to weapon-grade levels, trying to pressure Europe for new terms to the 2015 deal. So Iran is going against President Trump's wishes when he pulled out of the deal, directly causing tension between U.S. and Trump's administration to Iran's administration. So when an attack happened, the U.S. put blame on Iran as they think they have a motive in that direction to do so. But as I've said earlier, that footage you saw briefly in the video is blurry and it's still a little bit hard to tell, so people are still questioned about the situation. But I'll read a few more articles to give some more information. Iran has ties to the Al-Qadr, Trump officials tell skeptical Congress. I really need to practice these names, but dyslexia doesn't help you. Anyway. Washington administration officials are briefing Congress on what they say ties between Iran and Al-Qadr, promoting skeptical reactions and concern on Capitol Hill that the White House could involve the war authorization passed in 2001 as legal cover for military action. As tensions between the United States and Iran have surged, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo and Pentagon officials have told members of Congress and aides in recent weeks about what they say is the pattern of ties between Iran and the terrorist group going back to after the December 11, 2001 attacks, officials say. They are looking to bootstrap an argument to allow the president to do what he likes without coming to Congress. And this is referring to statements of tying Iran to the row of attacking the tanker. And so this is just a claim of what some people in the community think. So Mr. Kane, a member of the Armed Service and Foreign Relations Committee, declined to discuss details of classified briefings, but said senior administration officials had talked about Iran proving safe haven. A West Point graduate and former CIA director visited the United States Central Command in Florida on Tuesday to talk about Iran with military commanders as acting defense secretary. And so there's just some more information about what people are saying about the situation of the attack. And then, of course, some people are outright claiming that the U.S.-Iran deal is an excuse to go into war with Iran, as many people have inferred, and the generation gap on Friday, we talked a little bit about that, and we mentioned that one of the motives that U.S. might have is going to war with Iran, even though that motive was semi-skeptical as we discussed. So if that is a motive, it would seem rather a interesting point of view to take of why we would want to blame Iran if there really isn't any reason to blame Iran, and it's all a hoax, so to speak. So that could claim that the situation and evidence we see to be more real. And I'll link this article for those that want to read it, but I just thought I would show that there are some articles recently when they're claiming that the situation is an excuse to go to war, and that's why we are blaming Iran. But I wanted to talk more about this article as Iranian official downplays possibility of military confrontation with the U.S. because this is directly talking about the war motive, but on Iran's side. A top Iranian official on Wednesday predicted that no military conflict with the U.S. was coming, despite the Trump administration's decision to send more troops to the Middle East. There will not be any military confrontation between Iran and America since there is no reason for war. I'm not going to try to pronounce his name because I would just butcher it, but it's right here. The Secretary of Iran's Supreme National Security Council, according to the state media outlet IRNA. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo has accused Iran of being behind last week's attacks on 2 oil tankers laden with Japan's related cargo. According to Japan's trade ministry in the Gulf of Oman, the U.S. Navy responded to attack, offering assistance after a series of explosions that partially destroyed the tankers and injured their crew members. On Monday, the Pentagon announced that the U.S. will send 1,000 more troops as a additional military resource to the Middle East for defensive purposes to address air, naval, and ground-based threats. Earlier this month, Iran's supreme leader and the U.S. would be powerless to stop Iran from emitting a nuclear weapon should it desire to develop them, aiding to no further negotiations with American leaders in forthcoming. So again, all these articles will be linked so you can read them in full, and especially the one I didn't really talk too much about, this article here. But again, I wanted to more talk about the possibility of the war, but more focus on Iran's side. And obviously this Iran official could be just saying it, and they could be planning for war in the background, because you can say something and do the opposite. That's called lying. And politicians are pretty good at lying. But if Iran did the attack, what would be their motive? Because their motive could only be trying to get the U.S. to renegotiate this nuclear deal, or they want to go to war. And wanting to go to war with the United States is not really something you normally would want to do. Although we've lost the Vietnam War, that's really the only war we have lost in full. And although all wars haven't been positive and haven't really helped in the greater scheme of things, the U.S. is not normally a nation you want to go to war with. So if Iran does want to go to war, and that was their motive of attacking a tanker, it would seem very odd. So I'm more leaning on the fact that Trump's administration might be wanting to go to war with Iran, and they're claiming that Iran did do this attack. Although this could be a middle ground, and a lot of these things do come down to the middle ground. So I think a strong possibility is either there's 2 possibilities. Either the first possibility is that Trump administrated this as a hoax to go to war with Iran, or Iran did attack this and Trump wants to go to war with Iran. Because I think the war is its main focus for this attack on the tanker ship. And I don't think that Trump hoaxed this attack to be true, because I think the evidence is a little bit stronger on the side of Iran did it, or some radicals from Iran did it. Because what I've been thinking about, what could be, is Iran radicals could have attacked the tanker and not Iran as a nation. And what I mean by that is a small group of the Iran's population who are radicals, are crazies, you could say, attacked this tanker to try to get something they've wanted, such as maybe a reorganize of the deal or war with the U.S. But Iran as a government and as a nation does not want to go to war with the U.S. Although they don't like the U.S. and they want the U.S. to renegotiate with them as far as the nuclear deal, Iran doesn't necessarily want to go to war with the powerful military nation and military forces the United States has. So where I kind of align on the issue is that there was radicals from Iran that did attack the tanker ship. So Iran did attack, but Iran as a government isn't necessarily want to go to war because they don't claim it as being true because it wasn't from the government itself. And obviously you could put the blame on Iran still, as it being Iran's people what probably did the attack. But again, it's not full evidence to be true on either way, so it's all skeptical at this point. And I've said this several times already, but the footage itself, and even some people argue the evidence itself, is very skeptical. It leads ground for skepticism because the footage is blurry. The evidence could be is all circumstantial. The evidence it's all circumstantial evidence, and they can't physically say that Iran did attack it. So there's not really a clear answer to the situation about Iran. But I hope I brought a little more clarity to the issue and what I've been thinking about it over the past few days since the attack happened. And see you in the next video.